Fantastic. Give me one second there. We're gonna do a couple things. Let everybody in there. Everyone's joining now. Miss Brandolini, you are all set to go.
Thank you so much. All right, I would like to call the November 7th, 2022 school committee meeting to order at 6:03. We will start with roll call vote. Brandolini, yes. Lidwam? Yes. Burkowski? Yes. Gates?
Yes.
And Long?
Yes.
Okay, great. The Scituate School Committee is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. Okay, first item on the agenda is public comment. Not seeing any hands raised, nor anyone in person. Let's move forward. All right, our student representatives, Mr. Bowker and Ms. Rydell.
Keeping us on our player.
Hello.
You are on.
All right, here we are. Most early application deadlines for colleges were last week, so seniors are getting a sigh of relief before turning to the regular deadlines in January. So there's a few week downtime here, and then they'll pick right back up. Term 1 has concluded as of today. It's gonna be a stressful time for students as we are already a quarter of the way through the school year, which is kind of shocking. Just an hour ago, girls soccer kickoff happened in Canton for the first round of the Division II playoffs. The football team will be playing against Holliston in the second round of the Division IV playoffs this Friday at 6 p.m. Congratulations to the cheerleading team for taking second place at the Patriot League competition. They'll be competing in regionals next Sunday at Duxbury High. College visits have concluded. They gave an amazing opportunity for students to access invaluable information about many schools that students have not learned about before.
Lovely. Homecoming week has wrapped. More than 20 clubs gathered for the football game on Friday for the second SHS block party. From rock painting to bake sales, it was a great way for clubs to fundraise and provide a bit of joy for the community. Students from all grades came to the dance Saturday night. People praised its improvement from last year, so special shout out to our local student governments. 14 students were nominated for SHS's first Outstanding Senior Sailor Award. 6 finalists recognized at the homecoming, including our own Victor Bowker. And Lily George and Danny Thompson were announced as the winners at the homecoming dance. All juniors participated in the Credit for Life Fair last Wednesday, as this is many students' first exposure to some of the financial responsibilities of adulthood. They learned a lot about the sometimes scary process of adulting. Allies Not Bystanders held their training for freshman facilitations, which will take place later in early December. The VFW speech competition took place in front of local judges on Thursday the 3rd, with the topic question of why is the veteran important? Multiple students took the time to write amazing speeches. Some of these speeches will be heard on Thursday during an H-Block celebration, again, including our very own Victor Bowker.
Stop it.
Rehearsals for Knock Knock and When Bad Things Happen to Good Actors are picking up as the show quickly approaches Friday and Saturday next week at 7 p.m. I actually just came from a set building day, so if you see any green paint on my pants, just know that we're very hard at work. Term 1 celebration will take place on this Wednesday before school. Students and their families that exemplify the values of service, achieve, serve, achieve, invest, and learn have been invited for a recognition ceremony. Okay, and that's it for this week.
Take your show on the road.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, up next, we have Celebrate Student Learning with Wampatuck Elementary School and Principal Reardon and Company. That's right. No.
Well. Yes. Nope, you turn it off.
Am I on now?
Yep.
Perfect. Mrs. Driscoll gonna share our PowerPoint. So thank you for having us this evening. We appreciate being here to celebrate Wampatuck. The Wampatuck School Community has a lot to celebrate. We've had a wonderful start to our 2022-2023 school year. Tonight, Mrs. Donnelly, our art teacher, and Mrs. Carr, our school adjustment counselor, and I would like to take a moment and share some of the ways we celebrate students, staff, and how we spread the message of you are important. So these are the two pillars which drive our decisions and keep us grounded in making sure that every student is able to reach their full academic and social and emotional potential. I know you're familiar with these, so I won't spend too much time on them. So how does Wampatuck celebrate student learning? There are many ways that we celebrate daily, weekly, monthly, and at the end of the year. This is an end of the year celebration hosted by Mrs. Green's first grade class, and it's a literacy cafe. Families are invited to a delicious celebration of writing and reading hosted by their first grade scholars, and students showcase a menu of literary pieces they've authored throughout the year, and they celebrate the growth that they've made in reading and writing. How does Wampatuck celebrate academic achievement? So academic achievement is the current level of a student's learning. And it's important that when we celebrate academic achievement, that we think of children individually and their individual growth. So we have two online programs, Lexia and ST Math, and these are programs that the students go on and they adjust to the student's ability where they're at. And each program allows each student to have their own personalized journey to achieve mastery. So Lexia focuses on literacy skills and ST Math focuses on math skills. And every week when students achieve a new level in Lexia, and I should also clarify, these are all K-2 students, they are given a certificate. So on Fridays, I walk around to all the K-2 classrooms and I hand out Lexia certificates. And when I say it is a highlight of my week, it is absolutely great. And the kids all week long will tell me which level they've finished and they can't wait to see me on Friday. ST Math is new to us this year. It's similar to Lexia, only it focuses on math. Students go on and it's the same in that they take an assessment and the program sets them at a certain level and the kids work through those levels at their own pace to achieve mastery. So ST Math makes recommendations on how many minutes kids should spend on it in order to achieve mastery. So each month, the top 3 classes that have the most minutes logged on ST Math are awarded a mascot, which is a stuffed animal called Gigi, and they get to have Gigi in their classroom for the month. And then I just spoke a little bit about end of the year and end of unit celebrations on ways that we celebrate academic achievement. So Mrs. Donnelly and Ms. Carr are going to talk about celebrating personal growth.
Yes. So along with our theme that you are important, we want children to know that their feelings are important. And so we proposed a school-wide mural for grades pre-K to 5th grade so that children could emotionally identify how they were feeling. And we were hoping that this mural would spark conversations in the classroom around feelings as well as coping strategies. And so popular responses were that children were feeling happy and excited. And the goal was to use artistic reflections as a coping strategy. We want to do it again at the end of the year.
So what Caroline did was she worked with teachers and students spoke in their conversations about the different feelings that they had going into the first day of school. And after their conversation as a group, we asked students they all were given a heart, and on their heart, they either had to write a word or words, or they could just draw a picture that represented how they felt going into the first day of school. So some kids wrote words like peaceful or excited, or one said grumpy. And other kids drew pictures. I saw one of them. Someone had spent a really long time drawing a beautiful thumbs up hand. There were peace signs and hearts and just all different kinds of artistic expressions that were all unique to each different part. Oh, yes. So Artist of the Week, in the front of our building, we have a bulletin board for the Artist of the Week. Each week I select a different student who has shown personal growth. And that person is celebrated by having a piece of their artwork put up in the front of the school for everyone to see. And Miss Reardon announces it on the loudspeaker, so everyone at school hears their name announced. And it just is so meaningful to the students. And the teachers are wonderful about celebrating that student's accomplishment in their classroom. And it just is wonderful to see what it means to the students to be recognized in that way for meeting a challenge or working extra hard on something, and seeing them respond to you seeing that in them. Just is wonderful. I love it.
So along with our theme of personal growth, we have our ambassador program. And our ambassador program is a chance for the 5th grade students to be leaders and representatives of the school. So they go through an application process where they're asked to be creative and share what would make them a good ambassador. And so I received videos and collages and raps and poems and all different creative expressions, sharing how they would be a great representative, how they would be great with younger children, and also help with different responsibilities within the school. And so our goals really are to spark responsibility and empowerment and leadership and outreach to the community.
So how does Wampatuck celebrate our staff? Our staff is so important to the success of our students. We work hard to recognize and celebrate that each person's role is important and impactful on all students' learning. So some of the ways we do that, Teacher Appreciation Week, which the PTO is so great in helping us celebrate that week in May. This is a picture of 4th grader Emma Cook bringing flowers to her teacher. One of the things they do that week, which is so popular, is they ask students to bring a flower, not a bouquet, but just a single flower in, and they're all put together into a beautiful bouquet for every teacher. And it's really very unique how each of those bouquets come out. At the beginning of this year, we started on the first day of school with a welcome back staff slideshow. I asked all the staff to share 3 to 4 pictures of highlights of their summer and how they spent time refueling and rejuvenating and just connecting with their family and friends. And this is one of the pictures I pulled out. I feel like it sort of encompasses what the entire slideshow was about. This is kindergarten teacher Julie Sylvester spending time with her grandchildren. It was an amazing slideshow when it came out. So when you think about, we had about 70 staff send in pictures, and to put them all together and just to see all the ways that our staff sort of leaves for the summer and what they do with their time. And then we all come back together in the fall to serve our students. And then we also, hiring is very important, right, to having a great staff. And so any new hires that we have, we provide them with a staff swag bags filled with
Wampatuck gear and things that are gonna make their year great at Wampatuck. And I think that's a great way to welcome new staff and make them feel like they're important to our community, even though they're just joining us. And then how do we celebrate students? So there are so many ways we do this, and I really had to think about like which one to bring to you tonight, because we don't have a lot of time. And I just feel like you probably hear a lot about this, but the This Is Our House Assembly is such a great event that really focuses on celebrating students and their individual and unique personalities and talents. The theme of This Is Our House is LIT, which is love, inclusion, and trust. And what makes this such a unique celebration is students volunteer to be part of this. And each year it's gotten bigger and bigger. And I still have students come to me and say, I can't wait to be part of This Is Our House next year. So some of the highlights from this year, we had 2 4th grade students, Claire and Lena, and they each penned an essay in their own words of what This Is Our House means to them, what Wampatuck means to them, and how love, inclusion, and trust is spread at our school. And they shared those at the assembly to the whole school. So 5th graders, Natalie and Ella, they loved to sing and dance. So they wrote an original rap song and they choreographed their own dance routine. And the whole thing was focused on love, inclusion, and trust. And they performed that. And then our musicians, Parker, who's on the ukulele, and Drew, who's on the saxophone, they played a song together with Metco director Daryl David in the background, playing background music. And they performed for us. And then finally, we had some student artists, Tallulah and Desmond, and we had some others too. During the assembly, they created their own pieces of art on how they felt listening to the essays and listening to the song and listening to the music. And they created their own masterpieces of art, and those are displayed in the front lobby of our school. So what do we have to look forward to? We have a lot to look forward to, but most importantly, our goal is that all students, every student at Wampatuck is meeting or exceeding benchmarks and is able to master the standards so that they can move on to the next grade level, ready for the next grade level, not just academically, but socially and emotionally as well. And then one of our goals this year in our school improvement plan is to strengthen our community partnerships, because everything we do at school is important, everyone there is important, but we're part of a larger Scituate community, and it's important that we have strong community partnerships so that we can grow as individuals. And then I couldn't resist this adorable picture of kindergartner Doug and Ahern. Wait, can you go back? Dressed as the penguin and reading the book, The Penguin Goes to School. So cute. Okay, Heidi. Yes, next door. Just a final selfie from the This Is Our House Assembly with DEI Director Janelle Adams. And just recognizing that everybody is important. So thank you. I'll take any questions.
Thank you all so much. That was fantastic. Any questions? I don't know why nobody can probably hear me. Is it not working? It's just the volume's low.
Is this one working? Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, we got one. So I'll hold that. So first, I just want to thank you for the presentation. I too love a good slideshow of pictures, so it's great to see. I think my feedback perhaps might be for Superintendent Burkhead. I love the organization of the slides, like the different topics. I know there's some consistency being brought by all the schools. One thing I would love to see added to these reports is sort of what's happening in the buildings around caring for our teachers. I know we talked about the art and the students talking about their emotions. We all know that, there's a lot going on with our staff. I know you're fully aware of the burnout and the worry, and when we come back from vacation and summer, we're seeing those. So I just think it would be interesting to hear like what's happening in the buildings around collaboration and care of the staff. Definitely appreciating, but also the care. So just a thought.
Great, yes, thank you.
This is a great presentation. It just, as a graduate of Wampatuck.
I have to say,
So
I
much
feel like
fun.
every single person I meet tells me they're a graduate of Wampatuck.
Wampatuck was not like this when I was there. Because we went, we did our work and we went home and that was it. So, this is great. Seeing how you're celebrating the kids' successes, because we know now that so much more goes into learning. And one of that is making sure that the kids are in a good space to learn. So all of this is so as important as teaching, the basics.
Peter did not go to Wampatuck.
You didn't go to.
I did not go to Wampatuck, but I did go to Hatherley. But I am on the, as you'll hear later, I'm on the
School council.
school
You're on the
council.
Wampatuck School Council.
Yeah, I'm on the Wampatuck School Council. So part of this is my responsibility.
I agree with everybody else's comments. Something that just kind of stuck out to me too was, Mike, I'm not forgetting about you. I see you on there. Just about, we celebrate, the Lexia, the certificates and everything for math and reading, science, social studies, math and reading, but, not everybody's strengths come through in those ways. So I love that you're celebrating the artistic element of kids, just, as we do things like the equity audit for our district. Something that stuck out to me during conversations was neurodiversity and just different styles of learning. So I think this is one of those examples of how that really speaks to that child. So I think it hits so many marks of just personalization, everybody being important. So I love that you're doing that at one time. It's great.
And I have to say that when Mr. Adams brought the "This is our house" idea to us, as teachers, I will speak for elementary teachers, we're very much rule followers and we like structure. We like to be told what to do. We like to know what's going to happen, right? We don't like surprises about what kids are going to do or say. So when Mr. Adams comes in, like, we're just going to let students decide what they want to do. We're just going to invite people, it's very nerve-wracking, right? You're like, what do you mean? We're going to let them decide what we're not going to tell them, like, but it's amazing what they come up with, right? And that you saw in this presentation, like when you just say, hey, what would you like to do? And you have two girls that write an original rap song about love, inclusion, and trust, and then put on leather jackets and backwards hats and do their own dance routine. I would have never taught them that, right? I would have never thought to put that in. So it's amazing what kids will come up with if you let them. And that's when their talents shine, right? They pick those things. I mean, we're not writing a lot of rap songs during ELA, I'll tell you that. But they did an amazing job. So I 100% agree with you. We need to let go a little bit and let kids sort of show us what they can do and what we can learn from them, right?
Mr. Long, did you want to add anything from your whatever location you're in?
She actually just had a lot of comments that I was about to make. I mean, the fact that we had one that we went across all these different grades to see this success happening was great to see in your presentation. But then, the fact that you don't teach writing rap songs in class, like everything that the kids did outside of, on their own and, outside of just the core curriculum, but that you could see that success and that growth in them as students and individuals. That's awesome to see. So, thank you for bringing that out as part of your presentation.
Agreed. Thanks, Mike.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And I love that moment. Should be okay. All right, Dr. Dutch with acceptance of gifts.
Good evening. Everybody able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. We have received a gift of 16 yoga mats from Fenway Sports Management. The person who gave us the gifts is a Scituate High School graduate and thought it would be appropriate that the mats, since they were Scituate blue, be donated to our school, particularly since she has the connection to the school. We've sent a letter of thanks to Fenway Sports Management and Mia DeSano, who is the graduate. So I'd ask for a vote to accept the generous gift of 16 yoga mats from Mia and Fenway Sports Management.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dutch. There's a motion to accept it. Make a motion that the committee votes to accept the 16 yoga mats from Mia DeSano and the Fenway Sports Management with great appreciation.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, Brandolini, yes. Long, yes. Gates,
Yes.
Borkowski, yes. Long,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Principal McGuire, overnight field trip for DECA. And Mr. Mackey. Sorry. I have to start reading the full, I read like the first name and then I just go to.
No worries, I'm gonna turn this over to Mr. Mackey, our DECA advisor and teacher in the business department to talk about the DECA competition.
Thank you, Dr. McGuire and school committee as well as Mr. Burkett. We're seeking approval for the DECA district competition. It's the same DECA competition or district competition that we've attended for the past 15 years, minus the COVID year. And then there was a virtual year after that. And then we got back on board last year. So not really much has changed. The location's still the same. So it's going to be at the Marriott Quincy. The dates are December 13th through the 14th. And really what the DECA district competition is, if you are a newer member to the process at our competition, it's an opportunity for our DECA students. And really what DECA is, it's a business marketing club for students to be able to really, in other words, it's students that can apply what they're learning in the classroom to real business situations, so really that's what DECA encompasses. One of the opportunities for our business students here at the high school is to attend the district competition, which is students choosing a business category of their choice. And the categories, I believe I included a list in the packet with you, but they're across the board though. I mean, they're everything from accounting to apparel and accessories, to retailing, to marketing, to sports marketing, the hospitality industry with restaurant and travel and tourism, to business law, and the list goes on, so it allows students to, gravitate towards potentially maybe a career path they'd be interested in, and they could choose that category to compete in. What they would then do is compete against other students within the same category. The district consists of 12 other high schools within our District 1 Mass DECA district. And they would have a 100-question multiple choice assessment. From there, they would also have 2 case study role plays where they're given a business scenario or situation that represents their category. They have a allotted time to come up with a solution and a presentation to solve that case study, and then they present that to a judge, which scores them and ranks them. From there, we move on to the next day, which is a great opportunity for them to attend the banquet ceremony where they can see and get recognized for how well they did with each of the 3 assessments. And then the overall score allows them to see if they qualify for the state competition, which takes place in March. So it's a great opportunity for our students to be able to spotlight what they do in the classroom and then kind of bring it to life in this district competition and test their skills against other business students. Like I said, the event is at the Quincy Marriott again this year. Any student is going to be hired and is on site for the duration of the 2 days. The hotel does provide security. In addition to that, us as a DECA group, we provide students from each school a specific colored wristband And that wristband represents what floor of the hotel they're on. So, and again, it's a deterrent from having students from other high schools go to other floors that they don't belong on. So, currently we have close to 70 total DECA members at Scituate High School. I would estimate we're going to probably looking at between 30 and 40 students that would actually compete, which would require us to fulfill the requirement of having 4 chaperones on hand for that trip. So that's our presentation.
Thank you very much.
So I'm looking at the cost. I assume this is something you started talking about,
It was-
preparing the kids.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah, so we're keeping the cost. So the cost is the same as it was last year, which is great. We've negotiated with the Quincy Marriott to try to keep the prices the same as they were last year, so we don't have any significant increases. The school store, the Shipyard School Store is going to compensate some of the costs. So what you're not seeing in that cost that I initially published for you is the cost of the bus transportation or the chaperone expenses. So thankfully, the school store can help compensate for some of that to help the burden of our Scituate families for the cost of this trip here. And again, it is communicated to them that if cost is an issue, then certainly we can try to make accommodations and certainly help out our students that might have a financial hardship or might need support to still be able to attend the trip.
Thanks. Mike, anything on your end?
No, I think this is great.
Okay, no other questions? I will entertain a motion. Sure.
Let's see. School committee votes to approve the Scituate High School DECA competition overnight field trip on December 13th, 2022 to December 14th, 2022 at the Quincy Marriott.
Second. Roll call vote, Randallini, yes, Lindblom, yes, Barkowski, yes, Gates.
Yeah.
Long.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, Dr. McGuire and Mr. Blake. School council field trip.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Phil Blake. I'm a math and computer science teacher at Scituate High School, and this is my second year advising student council. And I'm here tonight to seek approval for our first trip to the MASC, which stands for Massachusetts Association of Student Councils, not to be confused with Massachusetts Association of School Committees. But is their annual conference in March 8th through 10th in Hyannis, Massachusetts. This is the first time we'd be attending. We're allowed only to bring 10 members, for which I plan on our current officers, and 6 will be chosen by application. Current membership of student council is about 55 students. So we're going to open granted approval and application process based on involvement and what those students would hope to get from this process. What is it? It's 3 days, 2 nights of workshops, speeches, team building activities. Workshops could include how to host a better pep rally, how to engage all students, how to bring the building together, things that we could network with other student councils on and then bring to our own school. So actually I have an update on that how part. I did receive the final cost should be about $400 per person, which wasn't included in your packet, but that will be subsidized by some of our multiple fundraisers, including homecoming dance, pep rally, and hopefully more. And I'm hoping to subsidize at least 50 to 75% of that cost. Why? I just want to take our student council next level. Hopefully we can bring back some great ideas, and we want to make this an annual trip. The idea is you can be recognized as a student council of excellence by attending this conference and working towards sort of their rubric of what makes a state recognized excellent student council. We're hoping to get after that.
Okay, any questions?
I'll just make a comment, and it's kind of nostalgia night, right? Like Janice went to Wampatuck, I went to Hadley. But what I will tell you is that I actually went to this conference in 1989 or 1990, I think it was
So
1989.
if you have any questions?
2010.
And as I was gonna report later tonight, I actually went to a conference there on Friday. That was at the same location, the resort, whatever they call it now. They used to call it they used to call it Dunphy's or something like that. Now they call it this. So I'm very excited to see that it still exists, because I know that, as you said, this is the second year or first year.
If you're going and then
First year
it hasn't
going.
happened for 2 years though.
Yeah, so I think that I think it's great to reinstitute this, because I still remember this vividly, and I know that it was also an important part of my college application, maybe even wrote essays about it, because you do have a chance to meet and network other students and advisors that are like-minded, I guess, and are involved in their student council. So I think this is amazing, and I'm glad to see that it's still in existence and that Scituate is choosing to participate. So good stuff.
I would also add that coming out of COVID, Mr. Blake has done a phenomenal job in rebuilding student council as the culture builders of our high school. They are tasked with all things spirit, all things inclusion, and bringing our campus community together, students, teachers, and even outside the building. So when it comes to events like our homecoming, like our pep rally, it's talking about how we come together and how our students then frame all of their experiences to say, no one is left out. We make sure that our events are inclusive and welcoming of everyone, and that we build that culture that we want to see here at the high school. Mr. Blake's doing that, and these kinds of conferences can give them the tools to take it to the next level.
And Mr. Blake, to build on this, I know there's a MASC, but there's also a national conference. There used to be a national conference, which, again, being nostalgic, I did attend in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it would be great to see if there is some sort of national convention as well, or whatever.
Yes, exactly. The national convention has been held off because of COVID and is picking up its first year in person here in Boston in the spring.
Oh, my God.
And I am on the MSAA committee for student councils as their committee chair. So I'm working closely with Paul Brannigan from MASC to bring that forward to student council. So stay tuned. We may be here for one more trip.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. I think it's really important. It'll be great. I would love in the future, if you wouldn't mind bringing some of the students on school council to do a presentation or share with us what they're doing. And I don't know, I think as a committee, we've always been talking about how to engage more directly with our students. And so if there are opportunities for us to be working with your school council in different ways, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think we'd be open to, are there things we could do, events, activities? So it'd be great to see some of them come at some point, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Entertain a motion on.
I'll make a motion. This is good. Yeah, it's very nostalgic. I mean, it does have. Very nostalgic. Make a motion that the school committee approve the Scituate High School Student Council overnight field trip from March 8th, March 10th, 2023, in Hyannis.
Second. Brandolini, yes. Lindblom,
Yes.
Prokopsky, yes. Gates
Yes.
and Long.
Yes.
Thank you. And Principal McGuire and Ms. Shula.
Good evening, everybody. Thank goodness for the microphone. I'm sorry, I lost my voice. I'm here tonight to seek approval for the 23-24 Spanish exchange. This is the same trip we've been running for 40 years. So we'll be exchanging with the same town, Getcho. We will be visiting Madrid and Bilbao. We are looking for student applications from our current freshman, sophomore, and junior classes. We'll be hosting in October of 23, which coincides with when our Irish and French students will also be here, so that will be fun. And then we will travel in April of 24. And we'll spend 2 weeks traveling all over Spain, but primarily visiting Getxo, Madrid, and Bilbao. The cost for this exchange is $2,200. That covers airfare, all of the excursion, and 3 meals a day. And the reason we do it, there are clear connections to our world language frameworks. There's the use of the target language in communication with native speakers and immersion in a culture other than ours here in Scituate. And of course, a lifelong learning connection that typically leads to a lifelong love for travel. I know you're well versed, but here are some photos while you mull it over. These are some student photos from our last trip prior to COVID. That's it.
Thank you so much. Save your voice over there. Any questions? This one?
Yeah.
Nothing?
It seems like a very reasonable price.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, the homestay helps out. There's no hotel, so that really helps.
Are we invited? Is it something that we can go?
We'd love to have you. We're always looking for chaperones.
I was just waiting for a story. No, straight you. Okay, all right.
There's still time.
All right. The school committee votes to approve the Scituate High School out of field trip to Spain in April 2024. I don't know why. It's so unpredictable. Do a
Second,
All right. Okay, Brandolini, yes. Lindblom,
yes.
Rakowski,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Yeah.
That's all right, we just suspended.
Just for clarification, actually, I'm gonna give you credit for it, Mike. Mr. Long realized that we should have suspended our policy on the first field trip, JJH, in relation to the DECA field trip, because it is taking place December 13th through 14th, 2022, which is less than 60 days. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head, which is, let me just recite the policy from my head. Yeah. So all student trips, which include overnight or out-of-state travel, must have prior approval of the school committee before any students are approached or any trip is advertised. Approval must be requested at least 6 months before the anticipated date of the trip. So just to
So we just
backtrack
suspended.
it all.
Yeah, we've done this before.
Yeah. Time out.
All right.
We're gonna backtrack, suspend that policy.
Okay, so I make a I make a motion to suspend policy JJH.
Second. Brandolini, yes. Lindblom,
Yes.
Rakowski,
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
All right,
okay,
now we vote on that.
yes.
I make a motion that the school committee approves the Scituate High School DECA competition overnight field trip on December 13th, 2022 to December 14th, 2022 at the Quincy Marriott.
Second. Brandolini, yes. Lindblom,
Yes.
Rakowski,
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Now I make a motion to reinstate policy JJH.
Second. Brandolini, yes. Lindblom,
Yes.
Rakowski. Yes. Long, sorry, here,
Yes.
trying to make sure he's paying attention. Gates.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Chaos. The rest should be all set, date wise.
in 2023. All right, the Quebec City field trip with Principal Phoebe and Ms. Shula.
Okay, so one more trip that you're very familiar with already, no changes here. This is an overnight trip. We're planning with either ACIS, which is the company that we've always used, or Jump Street Tours, which is a company we've used before. It's basically coming down to better pricing and better itineraries. We're going back and forth with two companies right now. The change this year, this is the difference. We're joining with Cohasset Middle School on this trip. They have such a small cohort of French students that we thought it would be nice to bring them along with us. So their 8th graders are going to join with our 8th graders, which is going to be lots of fun. We're visiting Quebec City. We've moved, we'll be traveling May 11th, 12th, and 13th. So that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, simply because the 14th is Mother's Day and we wanted to get the children back to their moms for the 14th. We're not sure if they'll appreciate that or not yet, but so we're going to go on a Thursday instead of a Friday. The cost is anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200, depending on which itinerary we choose, but also how many students we have. So the more students, the lower the cost. And then for all of the same reasons as the Spanish exchange, connections to our world language frameworks, target language use with native speakers, which is a unique experience, especially for middle schoolers, immersion in another culture, and hopefully a love and a lifelong passion for travel.
So nostalgically speaking. But I do have a son who wants to go on this trip, so they're excited.
Yes, very excited. My daughter, very excited. To chaperone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me,
I don't speak French.
you'd be fine.
Okay.
But we can,
No, I'm not going.
I don't think much of it.
we're all set with chaperones for this.
Then it escaped that. Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the field trip.
The school committee votes to approve the Lester J. Gates out-of-country field trip request to Quebec City, Canada from May 11th through May 13th, 2023.
A second?
Brandolini, yes. Limblom,
Yes.
Markowski,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
and Long.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Dutch will present on the Assistant Facilities Director job description.
Thank you. As you may or may not be aware, we have received a letter of retirement of our Assistant Facilities Director. And we will be posting that position and wanted to update the job description, which has not been updated for quite some time. The overview of the changes that have been made to the previous job description focus on qualifications primarily, looking for specific certifications and experiences. And then also identifying some changes in the evaluation process. The current language has the Assistant Facilities Director evaluating custodians, and it is the building principals that do that evaluation. So we've corrected that in this job description as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the job description that you have in your packet.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Dutch.
You're welcome.
I just want to comment on, you know, what the wealth of knowledge that Bob Dylan has for this town that, you know, it'll be big shoes to fill with that regard. We wish Bob a happy retirement. He's worked very hard for this town.
Agreed.
Anything else?
I just need a vote to approve the new job description.
Great, I'll entertain a motion on the job description for Assistant Facilities Director.
I'll make a motion that the school committee approve the new job description for the Assistant Facilities Director job description.
Great.
Second.
Brandolini, yes. Limblom,
Yes.
Borkowski. Yes. Gates.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Again, thank you.
Oh, boy. All right, school committee goals. No updates from last time to share. No additional feedback, but thank you for the feedback that was received all. I will entertain a motion on school committee goals for 2022-23. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 school committee goals as presented.
Second. Okay, Brandolini, yes. Limblom,
Yes.
Borkowski. Yes. Gates.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
All the Gateses approved the goal. Thank you, Zach. Okay, Dr. McGuire, the high school improvement plan.
Long time no see.
Yes. Welcome back.
So I'm going to present an update to the high school improvement plan with some of our data. So we have a school improvement plan at every school. And here at the high school last year, we set 4 goals to increase participation in our coursework, graduation pathways, personalization and connections, and school culture. And those goals, have not changed. What we're looking at is how can we tweak those goals in year 2 and become more intentional given the data that we have received over the summer and into the fall. We have a wonderful school council who has joined together to come up with the goals of the plan. They are inquisitive and curious and intellectual about what we're doing and intentional about how we move our school forward. And I think every one of them, we have wonderfully rich conversations in these meetings, and they're just great. So we have a lot of data at the high school that we can be looking at, but there are specifically 3 areas that I'm going to focus on tonight. Our accountability data with a special emphasis on attendance, our AP exam data, and our MCAS data. So our school has an accountability percentile. Every school is ranked between 1 and 99 based on the factors in the chart. I'm going to talk about the achievement in the specific subjects in future slides, but our graduation rate and dropout rate are here. And then our advanced coursework is a number that we're looking at. We've historically been in the high 80s, and that's something that we want to move forward. We're being intentional about how we name our courses to be aligned with DESE, increasing our AP offerings, and we are also working toward offering a Project Lead the Way course for next fall, which also falls under advanced coursework. So those would be courses that juniors and seniors take, and each student should have at least one. And then with our chronic absentee rate, 3.4% is in the last year, DESE moved to the 20% for chronic absenteeism. So 3.4% represents about 30 of our students. And 30 of our students missed 36 days or more of school. That's a very, very high number. But even with the 10%, our numbers in 2019, we had 12%, 2021 was a spike with COVID, 29%, and then 19.8% last year. That wasn't the target for DESE, but still important to know that even at 10%, 18 days missed is a huge number. And we need our students to be in school. We know that even if they're making up work, the experience that they have inside the classroom with their teachers and peers cannot be replicated if they're not in the building. So that is very, very important to our staff and our administration. Specifically with regard to MCAS data, we have our student growth here, the growth percentile measures how much a student's performance has improved from one year to the next relative to his or her peers. Other students statewide with similar MCAS scores in previous years. So this determines whether a student grew at a faster, a slower, or a similar pace rated than other students. So we have median student growth here for Scituate is in the typical growth range for ELA and has remained pretty standard through the past couple of years. Here for MCAS at ELA, our average ELA score is 512. We have achievement percentile at the top that compares the scaled score of each group to the average scaled score of the same group across public schools in Massachusetts. So we're in the 83rd achievement percentile for ELA. And then the colored charts show that 81% of our students are meeting or exceeding expectations. The statewide average is 58. We have 17% partially meeting with a state average of 34 and 2% not meeting state average of 8. In math, we did have a dip in 2021, but we're back to typical growth at 56%. So between 8th and 10th grade, this data represents the range of experiences that students have had since 8th grade, the end of 8th grade, which for them includes some of the COVID time. But we have come back into that range of student growth, which is typical for average growth. For our math ELA data, we're in the 79th achievement percentile. Our average score is 509. 72% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations last year, state average of 50. Partially meeting 27% and not meeting 2%. And then for MCAS biology, we have the 88th achievement percentile. We have our average scaled score of 512 in biology. And we have no growth percentile for science. We don't compare from 8th grade to 10th grade in that subject area. I will note this was also the first administration of the next gen science and test. So that data is new for us. 71% of our students scored in meeting or exceeding expectations compared to 47% statewide. And then partially meeting 27%, state average of 40, not meeting 2%, state average of 14. We're going to jump over to AP. Now we have kind of AP by the numbers here. Excuse me. So last year, 242 students in the high school took one or more AP courses. Of those 242 students, they sat for 559 exams last spring. 192 of them achieved a score of 3 or more. 79% had scores of 3 or more total. And these numbers represent 28% of our student body last year who took an AP course. That's on the lower side because typically our AP courses are geared toward juniors and seniors. So we have an eye toward expanding some of those experiences for our 9th and 10th graders and conversations about whether that's appropriate. But by senior year, last year, our graduates, 71% of them had at least one AP course in their 4-year experience. To put this number in perspective, we currently have 296 students enrolled in one or more APs this year. So our enrollment has decreased, but our AP number has increased, which is part of our goal. That's intentional. These are our AP exam numbers. And I think this is something that we don't typically report out at school committee. And I think it's important for us to have a starting place. These are numbers that our teachers are talking about, our departments are talking about. And we're looking at where we're strong and we want to maintain that and where we should focus our attentions, which is in the math and science areas for sure. We're making strides to improve that. Our cohorts, which are on the smaller side, Chinese, environmental science, Latin, and music theory, were too small to report out here, but we have those scores as well. Overall, the highlights for the high school are that our MCAS achievement percentiles are strong in all three of our subjects, and we have average growth in ELA and math. 79% of our AP students score a 3 or higher on one or more exam. And our teachers are working on our outcomes. They're working in professional learning communities around MCAS, AP, and attendance data to improve those outcomes. And then our focus areas for growth, we want to move students in those charts to the green and the blue. We want to get them out of the red and the orange, out of that not meeting or partially meeting, and move them forward. We want to get our meeting expectations up to the exceeding, and we want to increase those outcomes as well. We're being very intentional about increasing access to and participation in advanced coursework and AP classes. This is some of the work we're doing with Mass Insight Grant, and our teachers are working on. We also are, as a school, looking at decreasing the number and intensity of chronically absent students. So this has impacted our school improvement goals, and some of our action steps for this year have become a little more laser focused given the data. So the first is under academic excellence to cut in half over the next 3 years the number of students not meeting and partially meeting expectations. So to do that and move them into those blue and green areas would be, strong for the school and strong for our students. This summer, 7 teachers participated in summer AP institutes. We have 12 teachers who participated in 2-day workshops in October, and they're working throughout the year in nationwide based PLCs for APs. Our teachers are working on AP and AP potential. So this is the first year we've given the PSATs to sophomores as a whole class. So we paid for the test and we're using that data, which in December, when that comes to us, will show us through the reports what students are showing through their scores AP potential. And then we can use that data to have conversations with kids about particular areas. You've shown an aptitude in this specific area. Have you considered, or will you consider pursuing an advanced course in this area? And then we'll continue our work through Mass Insight. The second goal is to increase the number of students in corresponding demographics. So we want our numbers to reflect our student population. Taking and passing the AP exams by 10% in 22-23. So we know that we've increased that number already by 22%. Our job now is to ensure that they sign up for the test, which signups are due on Thursday. So make sure to get those in. And that they are able to achieve at the 3, 4, or 5 level. So we have action steps to do that. And then finally, we've added a goal in the personalization and collaboration pillar. And we'll put our attendance there to improve attendance for students who are chronically absent. We'd like to see that goal fall under 5% for this year. And that's with a chronically absent 10% for the school year, as Desi is moving back to 20%. And so our staff has developed a PLC that they'll work during faculty meetings to talk about action steps teachers can take to support students who are absent. And then we're also working through the main office and the administration to develop early intervention strategies to identify our students who may be at risk for going over that number, meeting with them and teaming with their families and with their school counselor, being able to offer supportive measures, ongoing collaboration, progress monitoring, and setting goals with them and setting those through contracts and positive reinforcement to get them here to school, because it not only for the academics, but because it matters to us that they're here. Every student being here is important. When they come here, we want to celebrate that. We want to say that them being here is an absence to our community and they're part of that community and we want them here. So that's how we updated our goals. And thank you. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Dr. McGuire. Questions for Dr. McGuire?
I'm on the school council, so, and in talking about this, one thing that came up was one of the reasons that the kids, AP students might not take the test was because they're not actually interested in the test, but just how it adds to their GPA, which, was news to me. So yeah, working on reaching those kids who they could benefit from taking the test as well as the class.
So we absolutely have a demographic that take an AP course for the GPA boost. And we're aware of that. And that's something that is great. But also, if we're going to practice, we're going to play, and we need to move to a culture and an expectation that if you sign up for the test, if you sign up for the course, you take the test. So we see, how did we do in a year? Are we meeting the mark? How can we support our kids to do better? And then we have to really promote the idea that you can earn college credit. And there are lots of misinformation and different opinions and ideas around whether that's valuable or not. So the cost of a test, which is under $100 versus thousands of dollars in tuition, and whether you can supplement a different course of your choosing instead of a required course that maybe you're not interested in taking at the college level, or if it opens up your studies so you can double major or take a minor so that you can register for courses as a junior when you're a sophomore, because you've earned so much AP credit, you actually have bumped into the next level of grade level, and then you get to take those courses that are closed out to your peers. There's so many advantages, and we have to market those and talk to students and talk to parents about those so they understand what they're getting with that test, what opportunity.
So, the AP test is only given once a year, correct?
That's right.
So what happens to the students that get like a 1 or 2 or 3 that's on a class that's, they want to get that credit?
So 3 will earn credit at a lot of schools. Some of the higher, more competitive schools, maybe they're looking at 4s and 5s, but your Bridgewater, your UMass Amherst, regular schools are taking 3s, 4s, and 5s. So that's the first thing. There's still value in earning a 1 or a 2. Having experience in AP course shows that you are able to do work at a college level. So not getting that 3, 4, or 5 is still a win to have experienced the course. It shows us and it shows the student, these are the areas you might struggle in as a college freshman or sophomore taking these classes again. And that's where you want to focus your time and attention, whether it's prior to the class, during the class, and then how we prep students if it becomes a trend across a number of students who are getting those courses.
Right. And you mentioned that the deadline to pay for the class, the AP test is this Thursday, and I just want to plug that it's through the town of Scituate website, super easy
So
to do.
we're still using Unipay, which we've done for AP exams for years.
Yes.
So you sign up for your exams, that information comes to us, and then we order the tests.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to mention that in case some parents didn't know.
thank you.
Yeah.
Emails went out today to students and families, as well as AP teachers to make a good push. We have about 200 tests ordered. We have about 687 seats. So if 100% of our students registered for the tests, we would have 687 individual tests for the spring.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions. Part of it is just clarification, Dr. McGuire. So you said one of the goals is to cut in half the number over the 3-year period, the students not meeting or partially meeting. Is that right?
That's right.
So if I go back to the numbers, again, I want to make sure I'm reading this right. The number of students in those categories right now look to be 19, 29, and 29 total. And I don't mean this, I mean this with all due respect. Do you think that goal is a strong enough goal?
I think it could be stronger. I think coming out of COVID, knowing we're working with our most vulnerable learners and our most struggling students academically, we want to be realistic and intentional about how we move them. And that we're not saying we're going to teach to the test. You're going to have a double block of math. We really want to talk about how to move these kids in a way that is holistic, that feels comfortable, that builds their confidence in their subject efficacy. And for that to happen strategically and with all of our teachers on board, we want to be intentional and we want to go fast, go slow to go fast.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the other question
that I'm wondering about, and maybe it's partly my own education on the high school, is I think what would be really helpful, at least for me as a committee member, is when we're getting the data on, it's on now, when we're getting the data on MCAS, the percentiles, I think it would be really interesting also to hear a little bit about where our students go. So are they going to private colleges, public colleges, vocations? Because I think that might help us to contextualize the MCAS scores, right? Because we talk about increasing AP participation and increasing scores, but all of that is making the assumption that a lot of our students are going to college. So I would just love to see what are the pathways of our students. I know that a lot of our students do go to college. I've seen the numbers, but I just think we
Over
can,
90%.
yeah, so it would just be interesting to see some of that data is all I'm asking, if possible.
We can build that right into the high school celebration of student learning.
Oh, great.
in December.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
I just want to follow up too, because I was thinking about the information. Like maybe if a student does not sign up for the AP class, what is the reason why they don't? Because as a parent of a student who took an AP class, did not take the test because he was not going into college, he went into a trade. So he said, why should I take it? Because he didn't go on to college. So was that one of the reasons why some of the kids aren't taking the test? Just curious. So, yeah. Fine.
Mike, anything on your end? Mike, anything on your end?
Yeah, sorry, I had a couple of quick questions. Dr. McGuire, with the MCAS, the participation for a couple of the different tests was 96 and 99%. Can you just explain why some kids didn't take the MCAS?
We had a few medicals last year.
Okay.
Had a couple kids.
So something like that, it's not some kid opting out of the MCAS.
No, we don't see a
Okay.
lot of that. Really, COVID outside of the testing window, concussions, and then long-term medical placements, hospitalizations, students who are ill.
Okay, no, with the graduation requirement, I'm just curious, so thank you. And then for the chronic absenteeism, we had the 30 kids that missed 36 plus days. Do we have, are there some general themes and the reasons for that we can start to address, or is it different student by student?
There are certainly buckets, school avoidance, chronic, long-term absent issues, attendance issues over years. Some students were successful with CRAs, child requiring assistance through the court system, but that drops off at 16. So there are multiple reasons. A lot of them are medical or social emotional school avoidance.
Okay, thank you. And we,
Hospitalizations, and sorry to interrupt, but the DESE doesn't differentiate between a student who's absent unexcused and a student who's absent and we know where they are excused. So out is out. If you have a 30-day placement in a medical facility, that still counts. And so we had a number of those as well.
okay, and my fault, I didn't mean to interrupt you, so thank you. On one of the slides, one of the ways to fix this was having a contract between the student and the administrator, or the administration, I'm sorry. I'm assuming though the parents are also involved with that discussion, correct?
So when those are initiated, the assistant principal meets with the student, the family, the counselor. They develop that plan together as a team. It gets communicated out to the teachers. It's progress monitored. And then they follow up as they can. One of the things that we have in our handbook is that we take credit, a loss of credit with 5 absences or more in a term. And that's a punitive measure. And one of the things we've really been talking about this year is that discipline isn't always behavioral. And we have to get away from you did something bad and you must be punished for not getting to school. And so we have that as a measure, but we have to find what the other measures are. How do we engage these students? What is their reason for being in school? What is the hurdle or the obstacle that we can help them overcome to get here? And then feel good about getting here and do it again. So we have to move away from kind of that punitive, you're gonna get disciplined for this. It's kind of double jeopardy because they're out, they're missing work. It starts to kind of develop that negative cycle. And we want to focus on kind of the positive aspect of getting here, and the contracts do a better job at that.
Okay, thank you. And I completely agree with everything you said. So thank you. And then my last question is kind of goes along the lines of what Dr. Bukowski had said. We're looking to cut in half the number of kids that are not meeting or partially meeting expectations on the MCAS exams. Do you see that being a goal that you work closely with the middle school and the elementary schools, just to make sure that as we see scores coming back early on, you're continuing to address that through the years as well, or are you just looking at the high school when kids are taking the exam from a high school perspective?
No, I think we have to do both. So certainly our trends over time are going to show us that students who perform at that level will need more support. So if we look at that longitudinally, we know when students are coming in, exactly, who we need to work with, who we need to support, and make sure that we have a plan. That's one of the benefits of our crew model, our teaming at the high school, is to be able to develop a smaller cohort of kids to support. So teachers know them better, they know their learning profiles, and they can work with them more closely in 9th grade. That should translate to the 10th grade scores. And then being intentional about how we offer and schedule MCAS support for students, whether it's inside as part of their day, as part of our H-block interventions, and with our teachers and department chairs working with them very intentionally. But I think you're right that it's very important to know who our players are coming up. We only have, a limited amount of time before they're taking a test that they need to graduate. And for bio, that's freshman year, and English and math, it's sophomore year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. McGuire. I just have one follow-up to something Janice had asked. When you're looking at students who are not taking the AP, so that for this GPA to go that route, what does the data show in terms of what's more valuable, really? Is it better? Are they getting into more schools that they desire because their GPAs are higher? Or is it the data showing that it's more beneficial that they took an AP in that avenue?
The GPA difference wouldn't show to a school because the school wouldn't have the data by the time they accepted them, whether they took the test or not.
Okay.
So it's not about getting in truly. Their AP courses are all counted the same for application purposes.
Okay.
It's what the test can do for you by passing. Yeah, that really is the game changer. That's where it splits.
Okay. So why are they choosing? Is it more of an internal competition to get a good GPA, or? I'm really just curious.
It's less about the GPA. Because I think the kids who
Put
take
them on
the
the spot
test,
over there.
I think the kids who take the test want the GPA as well. It's
Yeah.
that they're willing to take the test because they want the score and they want the credit. There is a real culture here, or a misunderstanding that there's no value in the test.
Got it.
And that's what we need to change. There's huge value in that. Short of going to MIT and studying astrophysics, you know and should expect that you're going to take physics there. What can the test do for you? Well, MIT's requiring you to take the test for application purposes. So we've moved away from those SAT-2 kinds of tests. So they're looking for your AP score. They're looking for that score to know what class to place you in once you're accepted. So they want to see that score. And they're still going to have you take physics at a high level, but you'll have seen that content. You'll know how to perform on some of it, and you may get elective credit that frees you up to pursue your passion of astrophysics at MIT. In some of the other schools that aren't as specialized as that, in kind of your STEM subjects, you're going to get a lot of money and a lot of flexibility in your program of studies at college. Some students take 4 classes instead of 5 a year in senior year, so they can write their senior thesis or really delve into a research project. You can take a class that helps your minor or a double major Instead of taking a required lower level class that all students have to take, you've already, we use the term clept out of, you've already tested out of those kind of requirements to be able to become more specialized in college. And those are huge benefits. And financially, if you can skip a semester of college, which frankly, lots of kids are doing at this point when it comes down to money, that really adds up, not just the classes, but the room and board.
Did you have something to add, Mr. Bunker?
Oh, well.
We're happy to hear from you. Right on.
If you'll make me. Come on up, in case something comes up. I just wanted to add something about the perceived culture in the school regarding why everyone is taking AP classes. As Dr. McGuire said, I'll sit down. It certainly is about the GPA. There's around junior and senior year, we start to find out our class ranks, because if we're within a certain percentile, we might add that to our college application. And a big thing is, well, if I take the AP classes, then in theory, my GPA will go up if I do well, and then my class rank will be better. And there's, I would say within the top 30 kids in the class, there's a very high competitive nature. Like Emma's she has a lot better rank than me, and I'm very angry about it. So I'm up here talking more than her, so, look better. But really, it comes down to like, I remember someone last year spoke to us and said he took 12 APs. And that wasn't because he wants to validate out of all 12 of those classes, because no matter what major you take, you're not going to be taking psych and physics and calculus. So a lot of students are doing them because they just want the GPA. And then the test is $97, and like I'm taking 5 APs, so if I want to spend $500, that's not very appealing, but taking the class to get that GPA boost is appealing. Oh yeah, no, take it.
And I'll say that it's definitely like, I had a point and I lost it, of course, but it is interesting because you do see kids making decisions about other courses also based on these AP courses. Like I know that some kids will drop band because it's an honors course and not an AP, even if they've been taking it since middle school. And so it can definitely be frustrating, I would say, to witness, to see how competitive it can get. And I know personally, I didn't ask for my rank junior year because I knew that it might make me competitive and I might take AP physics, even though I would rather eat my own foot than have to take a physics class. And so I think that's something that as a student body and among my friends, we've talked about a lot about that competitive nature and how some kids can try to necessarily game the system, but especially the class rank portion of it, you can kind of see that. But I know for me personally, I like taking AP classes because I like taking harder classes, and I think especially if we're taking the AP exams, the ones that are relevant to my major especially will be super helpful. And I know Miss Hall always pushes leg, because you always have those freshman English classes that you can get out of. So there's definitely value in them.
Thank you.
Just one final thing. I also know that in the student body, we have sort of graded the AP classes on how hard they are. And some kids will take easy APs because they are known to be easy, but you still get the AP credit, or maybe it's because the teacher that's teaching it is known to be easier or gives less homework. So there's a lot of factors that people take into account that are unrelated to actually taking the exam. The teachers have been pushing it a lot this year, but it will come down to when you get home and your mom's like, do you really want to spend $97 on this test? So it is definitely important. Emma and I can both speak to the AP Lang exam. Yeah, we both got 5s, which pretty much means our freshman English class won't happen, which is really cool. And so if you take advantage of the opportunities, it can be extremely beneficial. But I understand both sides of it, but do know that there is, you see the numbers of a lot of kids taking the classes, but not the tests. And there is a real reason, and they just want the GPA boost and the rank. So there's your student.
Thank you. Thank you so much, because it's really, and I appreciate you speaking to it too, because it's really great to have the insight of those literally experiencing it and going through it and the stress of it, and it's a lot. So
Congratulations on the fives. But no, thank you. I think that's great. And, you know, anything from our place here that we can do to support the culture that, you know, we welcome that feedback, the five of us. Definitely do. So, thank you. Anybody else before we?
I would just add, Dr. McGuire, I appreciate, I know it was probably a decision as to whether or not to provide the outcomes on each subject, so I appreciate you showing that. And I believe that obviously you can see from here, there are certain subjects or classes that we not very well, and I feel like the advances that we're making relative to, I know that Heidi has implemented some programs I believe you spoke of some of our teachers participating in order to better prepare the students. And also, I believe that probably soon they'll have practice AP exams that they'll be able to participate in. So I'm glad that you showed those outcomes, and I think that it's probably easy to say, oh, you know, maybe there's one teacher or two teachers that are responsible for this. Sounds like if they are, those folks are getting the supports necessary to potentially increase those scores.
And that's exactly what the fear is, right? We don't want a teacher to say, well, I teach that Lang class or I teach that Spanish class, so they're talking about me.
Yeah.
We're talking departmentally, we're talking as a school, we're talking as a faculty how to support that.
Yep.
But we do have to have conversations. When we show these scores, the conversation came up, is there a correlation between our math scores and some of our science scores that require math? So why is biology higher than chemistry and physics? Is it because of the math component to those classes? So we can have thoughtful conversations like that and then support teachers with course likes, with teachers who teach it. If you teach it here, you're an island and that's isolating. Who's teaching it in the local districts? Who's teaching it across the country? Who's done it for a long time? And how do I have conversations with them on a regular basis to enhance my practice? That really helps to break down those walls for teachers. And then to be able to go to these conferences, teachers who have taught for 20 years went back to the conferences and in the workshops, not as a new person teaching it for the first time, but as a returner experience, and got so much out of the experience because one, you know what they're talking about now, you've done it for a number of years, and you can apply it in a different way and take that information back to class that you're really just trying to get your content set and hit the ground running on, you know, the curriculum your first couple of years. Then you can enhance that with now the more you know, and they're bringing those back and having conversations with their department. And then, hey, you know, you're teaching the younger grade, I need you to support me with this skill, with this experience, with whatever it is that helps build in the feeder kind of programs, if you will, the feeder courses that help support the outcomes. And that it is a shared responsibility. We can teach skills that are cross-curricular to all students that can also kind of push our bottom line as well.
And last one is, and actually Nicole mentioned it, but I'll say it. When folks say school improvement plans, you know, the first thing I think about, how are you going to improve the school, like the outside of the school? Right?
Oh, that.
So
Where is this going?
So as we look, you know, you included the picture of the the front of the high school. It's not really that nice. It's not. Well, we've talked about it before. I know that we made some progress there. We're just curious, like, does anyone respond to, hey, our
See one
outside?
of them right here.
Yeah, does it matter to you what, like, the entrance to your school looks like? Or do you know what it looks like? Yeah, this one.
Interestingly enough, that's not the main entrance.
I know.
I know, so what is it? Is it this one?
I was just gonna say, if we could table this conversation, we are having discussions and talking about how do we show our school pride?
Yes.
How do we unite our culture? How do we market our brand? And have those conversations around the words, the images, the graphics, the traditions that matter to us? And how do we display that around the school? So we can do the aesthetic things. We have some benches on order for outside, whether it's signage or, you know, our entryway, we kind of bolster up how that looks.
Yep.
Those are all topics, but really we have to talk about, we have a good building, we have the foundation. And how do we take it to the next level so that when you get here, you say, wow, this is Scituate High School. This is the home of the sailors. What does that mean? And that you feel part of that when you step through the door. We're working on that.
Great.
Yeah, and I don't want to overstep, but like I do, like when I come in through like the cafeteria and like I think we talked about this in one of our school updates, but like there's like more than 100 kids in there, like most mornings, and like that does actually like make a difference. Like when I walk in and I see like everyone like talking with each other. And so I mean, I don't think that like I think like a lot of it honestly, like at least consciously. But I know like walking through the cafeteria and like seeing like fill them with like people being here in the morning and like interacting, it's not just like completely dead and silent. Like that has definitely like made an impact. So I see that, like I said, like every morning. when I walk in.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
The people to make the place. That is-
Absolutely. And
Oh, yeah.
I think
But I
that
hear
probably
you
all
too.
of us
We wanna-
agree.
Want to exhibit our pride.
We are
We
mindful.
want to be intentional about what we display.
I think we all agree with that. And I know that we started to paint those panels as blue, so that's a start. But no.
Yeah, we're being mindful of the buildings and thinking of just town-wise maintenance and making sure that we're taking care of what we have before we ask for new. So mindfully thinking of the high school and how it looks and making sure that it's tip top. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
And riveting category of policy subcommittee coming our way. With Assistant Superintendent Driscoll and Mr. Long and Ms. Long.
So we have two policies here today for a second reading. I don't think we have additional feedback on, start with the non-discrimination policy. Choose one, two.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, I think a lot of this is just kind of cleaning up language and making sure it's more inclusive. Yeah, more appropriate updating.
Great. Make a motion to approve file AC non-discrimination policy as updated.
Second.
Brandolini, yes. Lindblom?
Yes.
Markowski? Yes. Gates
Yes.
and Long.
Yes.
And I don't know if it is or not. I will stay back. The next one is ACAB, second reading of our harassment policy. And again, like Gina said, we updated some language that we were required to have. Any questions?
No, all required language changes like we originally presented, so no questions here. Anything else?
I make a motion to approve file policy ACAB harassment policy as updated.
Second. Brandolini, yes. Lindblom?
Yes.
Markowski? Yes. Gates?
Yes.
And Long.
Yes.
Okay, so for the first reading, which you have in your backup packet, is a new policy that we do not have right now. It's a meal charge policy. And the essence of this is about holding, I guess, debt to the cafeteria. And so this just articulates a process that we would deal with to make sure we never deny a child lunch, of course, but also not have hundreds of dollars in extra coins. And
That's a reality.
yeah, I know. I have the odds. So this just outlines that it's an MASC policy, and Bob Dutch recommended that we bring this. This year, just to remind people, lunch itself is free this year, but we always sell extras. So thereafter, you get a second dish and buy ice cream, which is better.
So just to clarify, this policy will address all those extras. For this year, as long as the school lunch is free, this policy will only affect students that want to come back and pay for second lunch or snacks,
Yes,
things like that, correct?
yes. In the future, if we did have lunches that were paid for, we would always get a lunch, it would tally up. The amount that is always, it's basically just explains how we support them to get through that. Questions about that?
I don't have a question. I don't know if it's just a comment, but the kindergartners, the first graders, second graders, they're learning about cafeteria etiquette and, you know, maybe even money and sort of processing the lunches. Just wish there was a way to kind of, I guess it's tough to manage it, but I mean, I don't want my kid getting multiple ice creams and
You can
can
actually
you do it
turn that
by
on.
the online thing?
Yeah.
They do not give.
Exactly. So that's outside of it.
Okay, all right, so the rest of the slate of my questions are not relevant to the policy then.
Parents keep.
It's about water, like, why do we have to give them a milk? Why, they don't want a milk, they want a water. Okay, never mind. But, okay, it's a separate, outside the policy.
So any
We'll
other
not go
questions
there.
about the meal chart, or should I move on to the homes?
No more questions specifically to the way that works.
Okay, so the homeschooling policy, if you looked at that in the backup, this again, we simplified some of the language to make it very clear. That homeschooling does not have anything to do with classes that are taken outside of the school day. If a parent chooses to make a homeschooling plan, that child is actually, they are choosing to withdraw the child from Scituate public schools and propose their own educational plan. But if a parent chooses to do any activities outside of the school day, of course, they will not need permission from us. Questions about any language?
Down here, anybody else?
Okay,
All right,
so,
first readings and no voting.
that's it. So we're going to bring those up. I'm hoping each time we come back, we can bring another one first.
Great.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
Other business. We get to that. That's other business. Leadership report, Superintendent Buckhead, waiting patiently.
Thank you.
Time.
Enjoy myself. I do want to acknowledge one of my friends that's here tonight, Mr. Zach Gates, at the table. Welcome, Zach, and hopefully you're there when it comes up my next contract vote. Big fan of yours. And welcome. So tonight I wanted to share a collaboration of efforts to give updates, and I think elaborate a little bit on our communication plan. And instead of waiting till the end of the year, and you'll see more of this. This is kind of a theme tonight. The calendar for the school committee is to be more intentional and proactive in our meetings and be very purposeful. I do want to acknowledge the picture that's up there. It's in Ms. Shaw's second grade class. A bunch of silly heads there, and that's our silly photo. And that class wrote me in this word a letter and expressed the amount of pride they had in their school, their class, and their facilities, and the love of learning and their teachers. And they come up with a list of really great ideas to improve their school, and invited me to come to them to talk about it. So that's the picture there. It was a great opportunity to go down there. And the kids are, one of the ideas that flourished, unintended. There's a flower club that's going to be happening in the spring to plant flowers around the school, so the kids can have actual participation in beautifying their school. And I left there with a bunch of laughs and some great artwork that is hanging in my office today. So thank you to all those students. So it's kind of important that I show the goals here, just refresh people's memory. And these part of this presentation tonight is going to align with both the newly was hoping that would pass tonight, the school committee goals and the district goals. And if you they both have to do with communication. And on the left, it talks about the district goals of proactive communication of the district. And the outcome is to provide accurate and timely information, engage the public in open and respectful conversations, all about something we can all agree that's most important in our jobs is student learning. And then tonight, we're going to talk about the deliverable of an efficient, goal-oriented, focused school committee meetings and agenda items. That aligns pretty nicely with the school committee goal under their professional practice goal by the end of this year, having topic schedules and agendas that highlights they're also highlighted through district communication the next day. And you probably noticed for the most part, after each school committee meeting, there is a more detailed summary of what's been talked about tonight, because we realize that people are busy and cannot make all the school committee meetings. So we're going to take it to them and share that information with them. And I think that's really been beneficial to folks. And we also include the link to the meeting in case they want to catch up on that or see a section of that. So tonight, I'm going to share specifically this calendar that has been, again, feedback from the committee, working with Chairwoman Brandolini, our leadership team back in the summer. And what we thought we'd do, and I don't know a lot of districts that do this, but we wanted to map out the entire year of school committee meetings and put topics down. And this is a living, breathing document. So certainly there's room to add things. The dates may change a little bit, but I think just having this idea of when things happen, and this is based off of looking in the past and what's been staples, like the budget dates and all those kind of things. And then some nuanced stuff that we just started to implement this year that I'll go over. And even something that, Dr. Bukowski brought up tonight, if we want the kids to come in from the student council, that can be plugged in here easily. But these are some of the core things. And again, to make this available after the meeting, school committee will have a live document on a Google Doc where you can access that more readily. So it keep real-time updates as they happen. So here's a little bit in the past snapshot. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but again, this also acts as an operating record. And then we'll go back and after the actual meetings, if things change, we'll update that. So next year we can look at it again and maybe one of our summer meeting or workshops can kind of look at it, what went well, what we can improve, what timeline. You'll see, for example, one thing that was asked of me to do this year was to change the calendar to move that up from January. We used to do it in late spring, and people had already made plans for next year, and people want to know when the first day of school is. So we did that. So a lot of subtle things that make a difference that can be done here. So again, superintendent goals, policies, things that happened in October all the way through tonight's meeting. And just wanted to, and it's good that we had the high school improvement plan presentation and the celebration of student learning. You can remember last year, a celebrate student learning would kick off every meeting. And it was kind of, what we noticed, it was great, but kind of disjointed and everything was different. Some were videos, some were presentations, some involved kids, some didn't. And when we had a leadership retreat this summer with our department chairs, principals, central office, we spent a lot of time on organizing this and said, okay, how can we be consistent, purposeful, focus on the student learning, our pillars, and then be efficient when we come into the school committee meeting with the idea of the next day we can add some detail to the presentations when we blast it out through the app. So all this has been done purposely to run efficient meetings in a timely manner. That's why even tonight's presentations, they were capped. You'll see the following ones that are done similarly have the same templates. And we were pretty strict on timelines, 10 or 15 minutes. And then as long as the Q&A, that's however long it takes. But the presentations we wanted to So that's, and then, for example, the high school improvement plan, just a little history. When I started 3 years ago, they weren't doing school improvement plans in this district. It's kind of law, so it had to be done. Is an expectation. So I think we've come a long way from not having them in year one. And then even during the pandemic, the principals and team and staff did a really great job of developing them in their school councils, which are representative of community members and parents and caregivers and staff and students. So they were being presented, so we had to do some catch up, and then those were presented in the spring initially, because we took all year to get them done to start them, and then the next year in the spring. And we felt it's important that they should be done in the fall, so that they could be updated, and like you saw tonight with Lisa's, we wanted them to include the why, what are the goals, what are our data showing us, and then what are action steps that we're doing to address this, as opposed to sharing with you in the spring what we've done, and it's too late to, and so that, and then we'll have a follow-up in the state of the schools at the end of the year. You'll see it here somewhere, where they'll kind of summarize what's been done during the year. So it's like a before and after. Celebration of student learning was focused around our theme to make sure that we are doing what we say, and you are important. You saw that a little lighter side, a little bit more on the culture. So we've got one that's a little more heavy on the data and the academic piece, and one that's more on the social emotional learning and culture of the school. So you'll see they'll do one of each. And you saw a little flavor of those tonight. And that's on that. You'll see Hadley's coming up next, and then the middle school. So we'll alternate those, and we're interested in everyone's feedback on that as well. And get some good feedback tonight as we go. The December meetings, again, more improvement plans, more things. And what we also wanted to do is if you remember some of the elementary schools in the school improvement plan, did them all together last year. We wanted them to have, although we've done, I think, principals and their teams and their schools have done a real good job of a lot of consistency, bringing consistency into a lot of what we do. I think that's important. We still want each school to have its own unique culture and flavor. So that's why you'll see each one of them present individually, and you'll see, well, it's the same setup and themes. It'll be different at each school, which we like. School calendar, you can see there is, and actually it's in December. So the first draft ready for you there. It won't include PD or things like that, but it'll include the first day of school, the holidays and things like that. So we can get a head start into getting folks that information out. Financial literacy should be very interesting. It's going on at the high school, and we'll have a team come in and report on that. And in January, we start with the program of studies at the high school. The reason for that is scheduling starts pretty soon after that. Then the vote, and you see sprinkled in here, we have the Mass Insight and AP. So that's kind of the midpoint now of the year. Now we'll talk about, a little bit of follow-up on what our goals were today, what we've been doing, the supports for our teachers, kind of what Mr. Gates said. We were courageous enough, and I give Dr. McGuire and the teachers credit for being okay to share those scores and say, okay, this is what we are. But the whole goal is, how can we support our teachers and our kids and our administrators in making sure that we show improvement? And that's the whole goal. You have to start with being transparent on where we are. So that's Mass Insight. Down here, quarterly budget updates have been included. Dr. Dutch will be giving those out. Thank you, Mr. Gates. So those are really important because they focus on this fiscal year. So while in a parallel track, we'll be talking about next year's budget pretty soon. We also want you to hear updates on how we're spending the money this year, how much is left, any concerns we have. And so those are very helpful, I think. So those are new. Then we have our kindergarten information we'll talk about there. And then something new again, we've had MEDCO presentations in the past. This will be a presentation of MEDCO. It hasn't happened, it didn't happen last year. So our new director, Mr. David and Mr. Barnes, coordinator, are excited to bring about what's been happening under their new leadership. The Anchor program is a new program, so they wanted to highlight that. A new spin on an old program that used to exist here, with modernizing it. I think you'll really enjoy that. And then the vote on the high school. February is a lot of budget stuff. That 4th is the Saturday of February, which is a Saturday workshop. And then the 6th is the Monday after, so those are very special meetings with only one agenda item in the budget. And then the vote happens a week later, so. Then you'll see here, we start seeing in February, the social studies and history celebration of student learning. Should take the names off there, but I'll fix that, but. So what we decided to do is the principals are doing their celebration of student learning, so we wanted to get a double bang for our buck. And include our department heads and chairs in reporting out what's happening in each department K through 12. So something that we've been missing where now I think we're getting a double dose of from the principal's perspective, macro and micro within departments. I think what's something at school is the K through 12 is that, for example, English, we have a coordinator, K through pre-K through or K through 5. And we have one 6 through 12. They're going to work together and present K through 12. So and that's exciting, and that's I think something we're looking forward to. And then you can see there's all the departments are represented, and we wanted to purposely put that on the second part of the year because we wanted them to start a chance to get things going and running, and then be able to report out. And in April, that's our annual town meeting. May. School choice has to be voted on there, so that's in there. Is my self-assessment as we start that process of the evaluation for me, we move that to May. And school committee reorganizations on there, superintendent evaluation, more celebrations of student learning by departments, another quarterly budget. And in June, some a little bit of housekeeping with liaison assignments for the committee. That's what we've done in the past. The last day of school vote, knowing that there'll be no snow days this year or hurricane days, which would be nice. And then that state of the schools we talked about, keeping it simple, but a little summary of the year and goals and how we've done for each school that meeting. And then a social emotional team and peer update. That is very important to give a summary of our goals on social emotional learning throughout the year, and also we'll have completed our peer assessments by then and be able to give our action steps and what we've accomplished through that. And then you get into June, the last day is the 26th of June, the last day of the fiscal year. We start talking about summer meeting schedule, and then I put the school committee goals reflection. To remind you to look at your own goals and put a placeholder there, but that can be done anytime. That's something new. So, and then we start getting into handbooks in the summer. I think that's it. So we hope that gives a little snapshot of the vision for the year. Again, living, breathing document that I give you all working copies. That when we had an update, you'll see it live being changed up. But also maybe something to share with the community tomorrow to have a good perspective on what's going to be happening throughout the year. Thank you.
Questions or comments?
No, thank you very much for that. Obviously, this is one of the goals that you set out to improve communication. I think this is a great way to complement what you're doing with what we are wanting to inform the community to about what we're going to be talking about. That was really my main comment. The only other one I thought that this update might include a little bit of update on how our app is going, but if you don't have that, we can table that.
Yeah, I think this is very specific to the calendar. I'll be doing more communication updates throughout the year. The app, and there's some other things definitely going on that I can report out on. Okay. Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm like so scared it's gonna. So thank you for that. I love seeing the calendar and being able to sort of plan ahead. I heard you say when you were describing the presentations by the schools that we go heavy on MCAS and then share something light about culture. And so
Did I say MCAS or academic achievement?
we said MCAS and academic achievement. And so it just made me wonder, and I don't have a good answer for you, Superintendent Burkett, but something for us to think about is, I know we go over pair data, during the year and you're thinking about collecting that twice. Just wonder if you saying that the MCAS and student achievement is heavy and culture being being light. I'm just wondering, like, what do you, like, what does that mean for you?
If I said that, that's not what I intended, meaning that one presentation tonight focuses on the pillar of
Yeah,
academic excellence, personal excellence. The other one was more collaboration and social emotional learning culture. That's what I said.
yeah,
I think they're equally as important.
okay,
In fact, I would say, and I've said this many times, that social emotional learning is more important than academic achievement, because if you can't, you're not socially, emotionally adapted, adjusted, feel a sense of belonging, you can't learn.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're equally as important.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because I love seeing the photos and love hearing about the art. I think it is definitely important. I just wonder, maybe, I don't know, are there ways that we can capture the social emotional in addition to the pictures and the, like, right, like, are there, I don't know, just
Yeah.
something for us to think about, like, measures wise.
Yeah, and I think certainly, and I think the pictures, just so you know, we've all been training and working with communication training on presentations.
Mhm.
And what we wanted to get away from is reading
Oh, yeah,
a lot of words. So our goal this year was to include a lot more pictures, but do a lot more dialogue. So I think there should be substance in the dialogue. However, we can include more social emotional updates, of course.
yeah, and I just want to say for myself, I love all the pictures and the sharing of that stuff, so grateful for that change. Yeah. Mike.
Superintendent Burkett, thank you for putting this together. I think it's a great insight for us into what is being planned out for the rest of the year, as well as giving it to the community. I apologize if I missed it, but you said this will go out either through the app or on the website.
Yes. Both.
And then, okay, thank you. And then on October 24th, you have the MSBA update. I don't see that anywhere else. Is that something we're just going to weave into some of the other presentations? I know that's a pretty big topic for our town. I want to make sure we cover it as often as we can.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's no MSBA dates on there because a lot of it's TBD. So once we get that information, we'll add it. Right now, the only hard dates are the 15th and the 15th and 19th of November, when we have the designer selection process, which doesn't impact the school committee meetings yet. So once those happen, we have a designer on board, we'll start having more information, a hardened timeline. If you recall, the Vertex came in, the owner's project manager kind of gave us a timeline. Nothing in stone until we have an architect. Once we have an architect in place, working with our OPM and our school building team, we can start setting hard dates. And once those are realized, we can start plugging them into school committee meetings, because there are going to be meetings where we want to do updates, and we want to do, there'll be school committee votes that are necessary. We just don't have that those dates yet, so I don't want to plug them in yet, but they'll be on there for sure.
Okay, thank you. But no, like I said, I think this is a great way to put out to the community what we're working on. So thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll just add just a quick comment that I think this is another example of Scituate really kind of being vulnerable and kind of trying to go outside of the norm and the box, and all these trends in education through COVID. It was like, oh, well, this is a chance for us to reset. This is a chance for us to think differently. And then it just broadly feels that, it normally, it just such a huge system, it just goes back into the traditional ways pre-COVID. But I really applaud Superintendent Burkhead, Assistant Superintendent Driscoll, the whole team for doing things like this, teachers, everyone who is contributing to all these kind of different approaches to communication, to understanding social emotional learning, to bringing that to us, to bringing it to the greater community. All of it is there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of piloting going on, there's just a lot of connections being made in the community and beyond. So I think it's great. And I know we're open to the feedback. I know you are all open to the feedback from anyone and everyone who wants to reach out about any of it, that it's exciting things, and just wanted to applaud you all for kind of thinking outside of the box and trying to implement new things for us here in Scituate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, no minutes to approve. No warrants. All right, correspondence from Mass Bulletin. Mr. Gates attended the Mask conference on our behalf.
Yeah.
Would you like to share anything with us from what you learned?
So as I previously mentioned, to bring it full circle, when I attended the Massachusetts Association of School Student Council in 1989, it was held in, I think it was called Dunphy's in Hyannis on the Cape. And as it happens, it's been renamed to the Resort and Conference Center. So I didn't know where I was going until I got there, and it was the same building. So that was exciting. But in any event, I think that as a school committee, well, every year maybe we discuss about actually going. And it's like, we'll talk about it next time. And then it was kind of upon us, and Nicole and I were talking, and Nicole found out that we could just kind of show up on the day. It was held November 2nd through the 5th. So some folks actually were there for 4 days. I chose to attend just for the full day on Friday the 4th. I just thought I'd share a couple of comments. First of all, similar to kind of the school council, student council choosing to attend again, I think that it's something that we should make an effort to attend each year. For the same reason that we want our students to attend the school student council. I think it provides us an opportunity to network with other school committees, kind of see what other issues are out there, and hear from some experts in both administrators, teachers, and students that are out in the field. So as I said, I did attend, and the theme really this year of the conference was really focused around DEI. Just to give a couple of basically they had a welcome panel. So they gave a speech for the first hour and a half with a panel about some individual experiences. Then we broke up into different seminars or small conference rooms, and you could choose which one to attend. Just a couple of the titles that were out there were building an inclusive, equitable culture in your district. What should equity look like, feel like, sound like in the 21st century schools? Communities divided, how to navigate polarizing issues. And then there were some other ones. What school business officers want school committee members to know. That was an interesting one that I did participate in. And then there were some other ones, changing the narrative, launching and sustaining a DEI lens. And again, this was just one day, but there were 4 days. Wednesday and Saturday were half days, but essentially 4 days of different conferences, or sorry, different little seminars and pull-out groups. So I had a lot of takeaways from it. I was kind of uncertain as to what to do, but I guess my biggest takeaway, without getting into too much detail, is that in the DEI initiative, Scituate is kind of blazing the trail. It sounds like there are some larger school districts, maybe like Cambridge, Newton, Brookline, who have hired and successfully implemented the position of DEI coordinator. But not many districts other than that have made the investment in it. There were lots of questions about how to do that, how you get approvals to do that, how you how you pay for it. And I think that if I were asked, I think that the majority of schools are looking at potentially adding a similar position to what we have. So I think that we're ahead of the game. We have to, we owe that to Superintendent Burke and his leadership and initiative and making that possible. And I guess for the school committee for approving that position. But I felt proud to be from Scituate and tell the other folks that, that we talked about, that I talked with, that we have a DEI director. A lot of DEI coordinators or directors who were there, and some of them even presented some of these panel discussions. So I was proud to say that I was part of Scituate. I think that we're doing the right thing, and we really are blazing the trail. So that was kind of my big takeaway, and I was proud to do that. Won't go into too much detail, but again, I did attend several of the sessions relative to DEI and just really just reinforced all the effort that we were making to do the right thing. So that was my takeaway, and I would recommend again that this committee next year, I think it's always held at the same place, generally on the same time. Try to make some effort to get there, and I have a personal story that I will not share, but no, I mean, we all work, we all have full-time jobs, so it's a big investment to take a day off to go down there. And that's the difficulty that we will always come after, but as we approach, luckily Mass allows us to go down for the day and just sign up, so. And I think Nicole and Heidi are going to just like the student council has a national convention, there's a national school committee convention, what do you call it? Conference. So I'm sure that Nicole, when she comes back, National School Board Association conference. And I think it'll be great to have you and Heidi experience that and again, make Scituate feel like we're doing great things in Scituate and share what we're doing and learn some other things. So that was it. I just, again, this is what my 6th opportunity to go, and I finally did it, and I'm glad that I did. So thank you for the opportunity. You'll get a bill, I think, from that. Thank you. Forward. That was that.
Thank you, Peter, for attending. Appreciate that. I agree. It's hard to, and I did see, I'm in a group of teachers on school committees. I know this sounds riveting, but they were going back and forth about how hard it is to, take the time off from work to go to the conference and, what that looks like. And people were kind of tag teaming, going in 2 days, and then somebody else would go the other 2 or 1, or someone as a group and they just went for the 1 day. So it wasn't, I will say it's not just a Scituate struggle to get there. I think it's felt in other places, but we much appreciate you attending and bringing that feedback on the DEI and Scituate. Trailblazing.
You got to declare, I got a swag bag.
Nice. Great. Worth every
That's all I got.
second.
That's about all I got. But I think I have to declare, over the 20-foot hour.
Great.
Peter, do you know if they took minutes or if they're going to, or if there's any recordings that Mask is going to put out either on their website or on Facebook? I saw a lot of pictures of the events on Facebook, but I didn't see a lot of detail on what was actually happening.
I don't know the answer, but I don't think that they recorded or are going to put any minutes out to any of it. What I can provide, I have a program that can give an overview of all the different things, but it won't give you the minutes or anything like that. But I think it's interesting to see all the different opportunities that were provided. But I don't know who can give up 4 days of their time to go with this. It's a little bit burdensome, I think.
I did hear feedback about there not being a virtual option this year, and that frustrated some people because, even for me personally, I couldn't get down there physically, but I definitely could have tuned into something that had been virtual for a period of time. So I don't know if Mask is, I'm sure they're taking feedback and things like that. So.
Yeah, and I would say from the attendance, I was there on Friday. I'm going to guess there were, 250 attendees, maybe. I'm guessing, maybe more. But I don't know for sure. But a lot of them, one of the takeaways I did have is I think that we're lucky they were not part of a regional school district. Seems like things are a lot more complicated relative to everything from budget to from everything. They just they have so many problems that we don't have to consider. I kind of felt lucky that we weren't part of it. There were a lot of regional school district representatives there. I think for that reason they have a lot more complexities to what they have to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis.
They have targeted ones just for regional.
Yep.
Presentation.
But I did not see a lot of South Shore representation. I did sit with some folks in Hingham. Other than that, I think that much from the Cape just because of the location, and a lot from from Central and Western Mass. Yeah. And North Shore, but not too much South Shore.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Any other business that anyone would like to share, including subcommittee updates or anything?
I do. I have more
Okay,
updates.
Go ahead. Carry on.
Just quickly, no, I feel like I was busy the last couple of weeks.
Something and I can't remember.
So just an update. I never really know I'll say this every time, the difference between a liaison and a subcommittee member. I don't really get it. I'll just update all the things that I did. October 26th, we had a financial forecast meeting with Superintendent Burkhead and Dr. Dutch. I attended. Again, this helps determine the school budget for next year. The good news at that meeting was that the town's new growth, meaning the new buildings that were done in town, were certified at a larger dollar amount than we had originally thought. So that will hopefully help our budget number for next year. We do have a meeting tomorrow, which most likely might take some of that money away. But we will report back on that. On November 2nd, I did go to capital planning, and that was just the police and fire provided an update on their capital requests.
Ongoing.
Yeah. And on November 3rd, I went to the Wampatuck School Council, which was my first meeting as a member this year. And Principal Reardon pretty much presented a lot of what we had talked about. We kind of reviewed the school improvement plan. But I felt as though the parents who were on the committee, I thought it was great because most of them had younger kids, like first grade, kindergarten. So I felt like that was great because you're getting these families involved early on. And hopefully can maintain that. And they seem like a very invigorated and intense group that I think is going to do good work at the leadership of this Reardon. Then that was it. And then last Friday I went to the Mass Conference.
Anybody else have an update to share? I'll share mine. I went to the recreation liaison, whatever it is, committee meeting, and just gave a quick, brief update about the MSBA process a little bit. So gave a quick update on that. And I should share out that I do communicate pretty much every week with Select Board Member Goodrich, and we share sort of Select Board updates and school committee updates. So that channel of communication is good. And I did also attend the capital planning meeting the week prior. So capital planning is one of those sort of heavy subcommittees for a short period of time, but it does require the weekly attendance, which is tricky. So kind of sharing the load on that. So, but yeah, ongoing process over there, capital planning, and good work being done on that front. All right. Anything else before I take a motion to adjourn tonight? Oh.
Yeah, Nicole, sorry, real quick. During the homecoming game, I just wanted to congratulate the high school and the athletic department for putting on the celebration of the Title IX at halftime of that game. I was standing up near one of the end zones where the girls were playing field hockey on the field, and to see the excitement on their faces, both before they got on the field and then coming off after, which is great to see. So I did want to say kudos to the high school for putting that on during the football game. And I also wanted to quickly thank Scituate TV because they make a lot of the school events that are going on possible for people to be able to see. So whether it's like the football, the athletics, the different theater events or band events that are going on in the schools, those are always very easy to go and either see live from home if you can't make it in person, or go back and view after the fact. So it's a great way that we're able to give back to the community and really share student success outside of just a school committee meeting or an email going out from the schools. So I did want to say thank you to Scituate TV as well. I know we haven't done that in a while, but it's a great addition to the time that we're able to put out.
Great, thank you, Mike. And thank you for remembering those shout outs for sure. Very much appreciated. All right, next scheduled meeting, November 21st, 2022. And if nothing else, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:17.
Second. Roll call vote, Brandolini, yes. Linwell,
Yes.
Dr. Borkowski,
Yes.
Yes.
sorry, Long.
Yes.
All right, good night, everyone.